I give you Mr. John Walker.
Well, it is absolutely fantastic to be back here in Burnley again. I've been involved with Burnley over the years in various different elections that you've had on. They've got a very dear friend of mine, Chris Fans, and I know a lot of the faces here tonight, and it's really an absolute privilege to be invited back to the place where I consider that it all started off, didn't it, in Burnley. So we must never lose sight of that fact, and as I say, for me to be invited here is an enormous privilege. I've just been asked to mention, to say a very big thank you to the actual the landlord of this establishment for allowing you to have this venue, not only the venue free of charge, but also the buffet, I believe, has been provided. So a big round of applause for the landlord. Now, I believe whilst I'm speaking, there's going to be a collection bucket going round, and as you all know by now, you've got a by-election coming on in this area, and you simply cannot fight these by-elections without some money in the coffers. So please, when this collection bag goes round, think of how much you might have put over the bar and sort of work it out. We don't want to see coppers and pennies going in. People are probably spending 10 quid plus over the bar. I think it's worth at least that to try and save your country and try and make a change here in Burnley as well. So please give generously to that collection. Now, I've been a member of the British National Party for, I'm in my 11 years now. And, I remember when I first chanced across the British National Party website, and like a lot of people, maybe a little bit politically naive, frustrated with what was going on in the country, and basically didn't have an outlet for it until I got my first internet-capable computer. And I'd heard about the BNP and all these different stories about the British National Party. I looked at the website and it blew my mind. I thought, this is where I want to be. So the rest is history, so to speak. Now, as we heard before, one of my recent projects within the party is running Radio Red, White and Blue. Now, this is really an extracurricular activity. It's something that I do in addition to my party work. It's something I've been trying to get off the ground for over a year now. And I managed to get the website designed and looked at the technology of recording sound. And not so long after the last elections, we managed to actually get Radio Red, White and Blue up and running. I believe it is a very good tool for the party, and the monthly listenership is really rising month on month. In fact, we had a huge peak of traffic during the Oldham by-election. A great deal of interest in that, and there's literally thousands of people a month logging on to Radio Red, White and Blue. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to it, please go to www.radiorwb.co.uk and have a listen to what we've got. And we're building the programming all the time. We have a regular slot with the Reverend Robert West, who you've probably all heard of. He does the Sunday sermon. I do a music show, and there's various phone-in interviews with BNP politicians. We also have programmers within that called Eurofile, which is looking at the work of the British National Party members of the European Parliament. Well, that leads me on just to explain about my paid employment. I don't work for central office anymore. I work entirely for the two members of the European Parliament, Mr Andrew Bronze and Mr Nick Griffin, MEP, as a parliamentary assistant. Now, most of this work is done from home. It's research. I have to do budgets and finance committees, and I also do research on written declarations. Basically, to explain the way the European Parliament works is that you have what we call committees, of which our MEPs are on various different committees, and then you have plenary sessions. Now, the plenary sessions are where the actual voting takes place and the main debates. Now, these MEPs, they have to vote on hundreds of different resolutions and different votes, and they couldn't possibly make an informed judgment on all of them unless they had a team of people around them. And the same goes, I suppose, in a way for Westminster MPs. They need people doing the research on these various different committees and advising them, and I state advising them how to vote, because they don't have to rigidly stick to what we say, but we look at the facts of the matter, we do the research, and then we would advise them whether they should vote for or against. Basically, the general rule of thumb is, if it gives more power to the European Union, we vote against it. If it gives less power or draws a little bit of power back to Britain and is in Britain's interest, because that's what we're about, then we would possibly recommend for voting for that particular resolution. And then finally, the one that I do, which is unique to myself, which none of the other parliamentary assistants do, is research on written declarations. Written declarations are whereby a group of MEPs can come together and refer to either a piece of existing legislation and advise or lobby the Parliament to support further measures or to reiterate existing legislation, or even to call for new legislation on certain issues. They can register these written declarations, and then MEPs from any group or party are welcome to either sign as supporting the written declaration or not signing as they would decide. And these documents are usually in a big folder outside the Parliament chambers. And again, they cannot always take the time to research these. So one of my jobs is to advise them whether they should support any of these written declarations. And a lot of the time, these written declarations are for cranky, far left, bleeding heart liberal type policies about various different things. We've seen things about support for homeless people, and then they're also saying about migrant communities within the homeless and things like that. So obviously, things like that we would be looking upon very sceptically. But we have to, as I say, give that support to the MEPs, and that's what the team is about. Now, a lot of people might say about Europe, well, why do we even bother? Why should we bother? We want to pull out of the European Union. It's not of our interest. But the thing is, for a party at our level of politics now, we need to be getting MEPs elected because it's the credibility factor, it's the public acknowledgement, it's the normalisation of our party, which we've been seeking for so long. But not only that, it's giving people the experience of working at a professional level within a parliamentary system. Whether you agree with that system or not is almost irrelevant, because it's not just about Nick Griffin and Andrew Bronze are MEPs. Those teams of people working for them could be the potential MEPs of the future, or even potential members of the UK Parliament, Westminster MPs. So we need to be in there gaining this experience, at the same time looking out for British interests, because that's what we're all about. We love Europe, but we hate the EU, and I hope I'm not borrowing a slogan there from another political party. But that's the bottom line. So that's what I do in the European Parliament. And it's quite interesting work. It was quite daunting to start with, but once you actually start to look at the things, and it is quite incredible, some of the lunatic projects that they spend taxpayers' money on. And they have all sorts of schemes at the moment for supporting workers in various industries who have been put out of jobs by globalisation policies, and it's the European Globalisation Adjustment Fund. It sounds a very grand thing. Basically what it is, they've created a situation of globalisation where people in manufacturing industries are losing their job, and they're taking your taxpayers' money to try and retrain these people that have been thrown out of a job for something that they've created in the first place. It's quite incredible, really, to see what they're doing, but at least we can see that this car manufacturing industries in Portugal and Spain are being an absolute hammering, and various other industries in this country as well. And thirdly, an extracurricular activity is I am an elected British National Party community councillor in North Wales. It was a multi-seat ward, so I didn't have to come first past the post to win. But nevertheless, it was interesting that since I've become elected, things start to change. So many doors open up for you at a local level, and you can really start to get yourself into the heart of your local community. I work very close with the local Village Hall Association now. I'm on the committee there, I had to miss a meeting tonight, but I do the secretary for the minutes and the agenda for those meetings, and really getting involved in local community politics, and it certainly does dispel a lot of the myths from possibly some of the other councils as to what we're about, and certainly people have sort of warmed to me over the last 2 years since I've become getting involved and actually going out there and doing things. You know, you've all probably seen me doing discos and entertainment at party events. Well, that's something I can do. So what do? I do the kids' Christmas parties in there, kids' Halloween. We're having a hot pot supper in February. I'm providing the music and entertainment, and I do it free of charge, so the village hall makes more money. And you're getting people coming forward now that perhaps wouldn't have considered voting for a BNP candidate. And in a sense, I'm not being big-headed, but they're voting for me, the person, rather than the BNP ticket as well. So you tend to pick up more votes that way, and you must remember that when you're standing for election. You know, you've got to start doing the groundwork, even if you're not elected. Get yourself involved in community activities, because, you know, it's like anything. It's difficult getting people to get involved in the BNP. It's also difficult for people at local level to get people to help out at their local village hall. Yeah, they're like gold dust, and they'll snap you up if you volunteer to help, and maybe at some stage they might find out you're BNP. We'll see what happens. They might kick you out. They might say, well, we're not bothered. But you've got to try. You've got to work for your local community. And again, we've got Deeside, North Wales, we've been pretty lucky up there. You know, we've had a few immigrants come in. We've had the Eastern Europeans, a smattering of Muslims in the local restaurants, and it's been building up over the last 5 or 6 years to the stage where now, yes, you know what's going to happen in Deeside. They're asking for their own mosque and their own Islamic centre. Okay, I know you guys, you've had this sort of stuff going on for years around here. This is a big thing in North Wales. We've never had anything like it up in Wrexham. They bought the old Miners Institute building. In the March of 2010, they said to the local newspaper, we have no intention whatsoever of buying the Miners Institute in Wrexham. 4 months later, they bought the place. 3 months later, they were in there worshipping. These people will lie, and I've found that out. Now, Shotton Lane, we've had a social club there for 30 years. Shotton was the heart of British Steel years ago. It's a steel town, steel mill town, almost like a miners' town. A lot of good local community spirit. That club there was built for the workers of British Steel in Shotton many, many years ago. And it's been handed on to various different social clubs and breweries that's run it. Last year it shut down. We're not quite sure. Obviously, economic downturn, there could have been any one of a million reasons why it shut down. But then, a couple of weeks ago, I received a phone call from someone who lives just up there. They're not a BNP member, but they know me. I've just clicked on one of these Muslim channels by accident, and it's got Shotton Lane all over it, and they've got a phone-in line. And people phoning in from all over the country, raising money for this place. It's only £150,000, pretty cheap. Perhaps the local authority could have spared that and turned it into a proper community centre. But no, the Muslims are now trying to buy this place. And they come under the umbrella of the Flintshire Muslim and Cultural Society. And the chair of this is the owner of a local restaurant called the Bengal Dynasty Restaurant. In fact, the local Muslim Cultural Society of Flintshire is actually registered at this restaurant. And he's trying to buy this place. And he's saying, oh, no, it's not going to be a mosque. It's just going to be a cultural centre, etc., etc., etc. But then, obviously, like they do, people started to find out about this, and there was stuff going on Facebook and social networking, local residents up in arms about this. And I received a phone call from the local police asking me to attend a meeting of interested parties. So I'm pretty, okay, fair enough. They'd gathered as a British National Party councillor. I probably would be an interested party in this development. And I went along there to this meeting, and there was one or two of the local town councillors and a couple of independent councillors who had heard about it, who were, I think they were opposed to it as well, believe it or not. And I went across to this meeting in the local police station. The police had called it because they were worried about community tensions and all the rest of this politically correct nonsense that they get excited about. And when I was sat there at this meeting, it really reminded me why I'm a member of the British National Party. because it was unbelievable, the stuff that they were coming out with. There's a police sergeant there who's employed as a full-time job, as far as I could tell, as the community cohesion liaison sergeant for the whole of Flintshire. That's all he does, is goes around trying to keep a lid on the racial tensions that this Labour and Lib Lab coalition have created in the first place. If it was such a preferable situation, this multicultural society, why do we need full-time police officers going round telling everyone it's a great idea? Why did we need someone there from Flintshire County Council, the community cohesion officer, who was going on about how marvellous it was welcoming all the migrant workers into Flintshire, how they were working with Muslim families, and how they were welcoming people in? There's another person being paid by my local authority with my council tax money to facilitate the colonisation of North Wales. Why? And I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, that was a wake-up call for me, because, you know, when you've been involved in nationalism a long time, sometimes you get a bit lost in the detail, don't you? You get a bit lost in the detail about various campaigns and various things that's going on in the party. But I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, that was a wake-up call for me and reminded me why I'm a member of this party and why I'm a councillor for this party, and I'll continue to fight for this party. But it gets worse than that, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if any of you saw on the main BNP website last week, it was reporting about a national investigation or report that had been carried out by the children's charity Barnardo's into the Muslim paedophile grooming of young white girls by Muslims all over this country. You must all know about that scandal. Maybe you don't know about it. You've known it for years in northern towns all over the country. Obviously, it's probably going to come to North Wales sometime soon if this carries on. But the thing is, in this whole Barnardo's report that they put in and done a lot of research, through the whole thing, Barnardo's made no reference whatsoever to the ethnicity or the religion of the people that were perpetrating the paedophile grooming of young white girls. Can you imagine that? Even Jack Straw's had to admit it now, but Barnardo's won't. But here's the crux of the matter. Going back to this police meeting, sat with Mr. Ali and his other compatriot that's wanting to open a mosque in my town, was two representatives from, you guess who, Barnardo's. These people are working hand in glove with the Muslims, and they're supposed to be protecting our children in this country. What an utter disgrace. It's absolutely unbelievable that they can have a report like that, and at the same time they're supposed to be looking after children, and I've also heard that they're getting funding as well to do these things and to work hand in hand with these people to basically Islamify new areas. And North Wales is one of them. So armed with all that, I thought, well, obviously, people are going to be expecting me to do something now. I am a British National Party councillor. I'm proud of it. So we had this printed on a risograph machine. We managed to raise the money for the machine. Stop the Shotton Lane Islamic Centre. We've got a questionnaire on the back. And you can fill in and ask for a window post to stop the Shotton Lane Islamic Centre with a big BNP heart on there. And that went out on Saturday. We put 2,000 of them out on Saturday. I'd like to say thanks very much to Mike Whitby, who's your new North West Regional Organiser, and the boys from Liverpool and some of the girls from Liverpool came over and helped us get 2,000 of these out in the morning before the EDL came in to try and steal our thunder with a parade. We got this out to over 2,000 houses on Saturday, and this morning my PO box in Deeside was like that, with people who filled that in, asked for a window poster and put their contact details on. It's really firing up now in Deeside. We've already had the Stop the Islamic Centre window posters printed. They're going to be going out probably by Thursday this week when we've compiled all the lists. But as I say, we've got a bit of an advantage because it's a new thing in Deeside. The public level of public support opposing this is absolutely massive. And I will pledge now to the people of Deeside that we will not have a mosque in Shotton Lane over my dead body. And as I say, we cannot trust what we are being told by the police, by the local authorities, by the Muslims themselves, because as I said before, they were proved to be lying about a similar thing up in Wrexham only last year. And the only people that has the fortitude and the bravery to speak out is by people like you in this room here now. We know politics is a big game, and it's not just about Islam and immigration and Europe, but these are the core issues that remind us what we're here for, why we're members of the British National Party, and why we must remain united and carry on, because this is the only chance for our country, is the British National Party. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.